سلام، شب و روزتون بخیر باشه. به تجربه جهانی خوش اومدید. ویدیویی که قرار ببینید باز اجرای ارائه هست که من 22 نوامبر در دانشگاه UBC به دعوت از شرکت کندور فارما انجام دادم. ارائه در مورد مسیر ریسرچ من، بخشش در مورد مسیر ریسرچ منه، بخشش هم در مورد یک پروژه که در تابستون در واکنش به جنگ 12 روزه و روزهای بعد از اون من به همراه چند تن از دوستانم برای ایرانی‌های خارج از کشور انجام دادیم. من قسمتی از این ارائه رو توی توییتر گذاشته بودم. چند نفر از کاربرها درخواست کرده بودن که اسلایدها رو براشون بفرستم. منتها همونطور که خواهید دید اسلایدها به تنهایی گویا نبودن. با توجه به اینکه من کامل فیلم ارائه رو نداشتم، فقط تیکه هایش بود، تصمیم گرفتم که یه بار دیگه ضبطش بکنم، هم در اختیار اون عزیزان قرار بدم، هم اگر که حالا کسی کنجکاو بود ببینه و در اختیارش باشه. بعد از اینکه این ارائه تموم میشه من اون تیکه ها رو هم میذارم که اگر دوست داشتید ببینید حالا هوای ایونت چجوری بوده و اجرای اون روز چه شکلی بوده ببینید. ارائه هم به زبان انگلیسیه. من به اون متن انگلیسی که نوشته بودم سعی کردم وفادار باشم و با همون اجرا کنم، بنابراین از اینجا به بعدش رو انگلیسی خدمتتون ارائه میکنم.
People usually shake off presentation stress by quoting some super famous person. I am no exception, so here's mine. George Bernard Shaw, the legendary writer, said, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." Yes, our very nature is tied to change, but I think you also agree with me that it doesn't make changing easy. If it did, you would have started that new habit 2 or 3 Mondays ago instead of putting it off until the day after tomorrow or after this Christmas. I'm not an exception myself either, so I'm gonna pass telling a joke about this. Change is often forced upon us, but even when people freely choose it, they usually meet enormous resistance at the beginning and very often fail. And if the change is forced, then it's even worse. Today, I want to tell you a story about war, online coexistence, and the human brain, so we can see what changes our current lifestyle is demanding of us. And then I can remind us, when we are in the eye of the storm of change, how we can look at the situation in a way that gives us more safety and agency, and lets us actually move towards the life we want to wrest from the jaw of the fate. Imagine a warm, sunny summer evening. After months of grinding work, you have finally gone on vacation to stay with a friend and their family. It's the weekend. You've planned a family outing to one of the city's famous pizza places. You're strolling down the street. Their 4-year-old boy is playing and laughing with you. You record a video message for the loved one who lives thousands of kilometers away, telling them you wish they were walking with you in this beautiful weather. You join the queue at the pizza place, staring at those thin, steaming slices that make your mouth water. You pick up your phone and see that the city you grew up is under bombardment. The sky over your neighborhood is filled with smoke from explosions. That was me, around 7 p.m. on June 13th this summer. Change had collapsed on me like an avalanche. A crack in reality had opened right in the middle of my life. I had only been in my new country, new language, new rules, far from family and friends for 5 or 6 months, and now my life felt torn in two. My body was safe and sound, but my mind was drowning in fear and anxiety for my loved ones. I had responsibilities to attend to, but my psyche refused to cooperate. I could easily have been one of those people sleeping under the sound of explosions, those very loved ones I couldn't even properly reach because of the internet blackouts. In the days that followed, I felt utter helplessness. I felt nobody cared, that I belonged nowhere, that I was a broken boat tossed from wave to wave. Change had hit me like a freight train and I had to adapt. But before I tell you how I adapted to that particular change, let me talk about another change that probably more of us can relate to right now. This one is not deadly like war, yet. It is just as powerful, affects our lives just as deeply, and has entered our world without asking permission. AI. Our brains, the most evolved on planet, have succeeded in building tools that surpass itself in specific cognitive tasks, mathematical computations, language processing, chess, board game, like Go. Artificial intelligence is entering every single scene of our daily lives at disruptive speed. It's even changing the very tools we use to cope with change. People are already pouring out their hearts to LLMs, and AI agents have one foot in the door of therapy, or to be more precise, mental health industry. I guess that some of you, exactly those of you who are watching this on YouTube, are already building or working on building exactly those products right now, just right now. Still, I would like to draw your attention to two things. One, there are areas of your life that feel completely natural and taken for granted. How would you feel when AI enters those two? Two, even if you are currently riding the AI wave, just as many people rode the wave of previous disruptions, how would you feel if a sudden change put you in the group that cannot afford to keep up? And the second one actually resonates with more people here on YouTube compared to the people that I was presenting to back then in November 22nd. In this situation, similar emotions can arise here. That's why I believe we can draw inspiration from the same solution I discovered this summer when a reality crack happened in my life. So, what did I actually do in those circumstances? I was desperate. It quickly occurred to me that people living inside the war condition must be feeling this 100 times worse. So I asked Mohammed, my psychologist friend who lives in Germany, to record a special episode of my podcast together, a practical guide to mental health care in wartime. Doing that immediately returned a sense of agency to me and helped me accept what was, and more specifically wasn't, in my control. Very quickly during the recording and then in conversations with 2 or 3 other friends scattered around the world, all far from home, I realized my experience wasn't unique. Many others had been hit by the same train of change and were struggling with helplessness, isolation, anxiety, and split lives. I had returned to my own city and was now physically distant, even from the friend I had just spent vacation with days earlier. Twitter and Telegram were the only things keeping me connected to people who actually got it. So that's where I started, with one simple sentence. Pain that cannot be turned into words becomes trauma, and trauma paralyzes our ability to live. I shared the idea with Seper in Italy, another Seper in the Netherlands, Amir in the US, Mohammed in Germany, and another Mohammed in Canada. Every session was led by a psychologist, and we spoke about emotions that had felt impossible to speak about, hoping to stitch our split lives back together, to maintain psychological coherence despite constant worry for home, and to be able to tend to the responsibilities and lives we had in our hands. At first, it was hard to speak. Definitely, it was definitely hard. We helped each other find the right words. Complaints poured out one by one, and people who seemed so different turned out to share the very same concerns. My friends in my host country, pay zero attention to what I'm going through, I feel betrayed. I don't even know what to talk about. So much is happening, I don't know where to start. I feel I have no control over anything. I think my existence is threatened. I've lost my roots. I feel guilty for the things I can do here that people back in Iran cannot. Just hearing people speak Persian warms my heart and gives me hope. Over 40 days, we held 18 sessions, 36 hours in total, hosting more than 150 people. We spoke about rage together, we cried together, we named emotions that had been blocking our ability to show up fully in life. In one session, for the first time in almost a year since getting ready to move to Canada, I realized how much I missed my mother and cried about it, something that had been psychologically blocked until then. The sessions worked, not just because I'm here telling you about them. We ran surveys at the end and asked participants about their experience. What worked, according to both my observation and the experts who were with us, such as Sepeh, Mohammed, and Amir, who were psychologists and psychiatrists, was that we centered the single most fundamental thing we humans return to in any major change, the thing we can, and I believe we should, return to when facing the changes AI is bringing, and indeed, any profound change in our lives. And to be honest with you, I'm not talking about changing your shampoo brand. The angel is in principles. I didn't say it in the original presentation, but this is a sentence that I have taken from Meysam Zargarpur. That core thing is the evolutionary adaptation that made our cortex disproportionately large and powerful compared to our genetic cousins. The adaptation that ultimately allowed us to create beings and tools more powerful than ourselves. As social creatures, the larger and more complex our social groups became, the more this part of the brain grew. And that growth was built primarily on two things. One, secure attachment, and two, empathy. At the beginning of every innovation in human history, there was a human being who looked at another novice human, child or tribesman, with safety and positive regard, enabling learned knowledge to be passed on. Even if the teacher originally learned something through fear and threat, transmitting it required that safe gaze. We now know, both theoretically and from direct observation, that a secure attachment environment increases brain plasticity for learning and change. In those support groups, we were facing one of the most extreme forms of change. And what we gave each other was exactly that safe, attentive gaze. I know how hard this is for you because it's just as hard for me. But despite my own jobs, deadlines, and busy life here, I'm making time to see you and to listen to you because it's what I need to. That is precisely the thing AI cannot give us, at least not yet. And most of our other tools cannot give us either. That is why, deep down, we don't get the joy and safety we crave from endless scrolling, liking, and sending cute cat reels. Yet these tools are now so woven into our lives that escape feels impossible. We might think, let's just lock them all in a box and go cold turkey. I tried that too. It's an appealing idea. But it still doesn't match the reality of our lives, especially not when many of us are thrilled, are super excited that we can now start a conversation, a serious conversation, a funny conversation with an agent that never tires, only in few seconds. I'm not here to demonize these tools or the progress. In recent months, I have seen, read, and personally experienced how these tools empower us to create. Like, imagine this presentation wouldn't have been made in a few hours, in like 15 hours, if it wasn't with the help of Gemini. But as I promised in the beginning, this is meant to be a reminder that it would be lovely if we could actually handle everything alone, as our current lifestyle demands and constantly tells us we should. But there's no escaping what makes us human, just as there's no escaping our love for sugar and fat. Adapting to this new lifestyle that so often leaves us anxious, frightened, panicked, angry, or depressed requires eyes that truly see us and hands that offer the warmth of safety, so that we can once again help our astonishing brains do what they have done since the discovery of fire: master the new reality.
Months of grinding work, you finally got on a vacation with a friend and their family. It's the weekend. You have planned a family outing to one of the city's famous pizza places. You are strolling down the street. Their 4-year-old boy is playing and laughing with you. You record a video message for the loved one who lives thousands of kilometers away from you, and you wish they were there with you, walking the same street, enjoying the beautiful weather. Deep down, we don't get the joy and safety we are craving from endless scrolling, liking, and sending those cute cat reels to our friends. Yet, these tools are now so woven into our lives that escape feels impossible. We might think, let's just put everything inside a box and go cold turkey. I tried that too. It's an appealing idea, but it still doesn't match the reality of our lives. Especially not when many of us are excited, are thrilled that we can now start a serious conversation